Alright guys, I'm back and now it's time to do a review on this Peavey speaker. So the reason why I bought this anyway is because I'm doing street evangelism, and so I needed a portable battery powered PA speaker because my other system that I use for my sound events, obviously I have to plug all of that in, and obviously it's a bit bigger and it's a bit heavier, and you know, it wasn't really practical to use this equipment outdoors without a power source. And where I was standing, there was no power source. So I needed it to be battery powered, but I didn't want to go for those little cheap $20 speakers with the mini microphones that you can find on Amazon or at Target or something. I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of money on a 5-watt Roland Cube, you know, that I knew would sound really, really good. Don't get me wrong, the Roland Cube, out of all three battery powered PA speakers I was looking at, the Roland Cube to me sounded the best. But I didn't want to spend all that money to get, you know, a speaker that I can literally fit in my pocket, but it really didn't get that loud. The speaker in the middle here was this Peavey Solo. And this is what I ended up going with. And I get one more feature. So not only do I get a mic channel, an instrument channel, or auxiliary channel, they used to call it, a second channel here, an equalizer for my voice, I also get a tape out. So not only can people hear what I'm saying, you know, outside, but one thing that I did was I recorded my dialogue just on my camera here. So they have a tape out here. So what this allows you to do, it allows you to send the signal that you're feeding into this Peavey Solo to a mixing console or to a recorder or to, I don't know, something else. But basically it allows you to take the signal that's coming into this and send it somewhere else, like a recorder, generally a recorder. So I sent this tape out to my recorder, and I was able to record my sermon that day. So literally I did it all from here. The disadvantage of doing it this way, though, if you use the tape out, just keep in mind that the recording will be in mono, and for me it came out on the left side, or the left channel, I'm sorry. The left channel, if you're listening to this on headphones, the sound that comes out of this will only come from the left channel because it's mono, truly mono. So that's the only beef about using the tape out. So you'll probably have to play with the panning control on your DAW or whatever you use. But it's a great feature. I like how I have that because now I can record and document my evangelism messages. You know, it gives me all the features I need. It sounds pretty decent. Now, Peavey was boasting about this 8-inch speaker, and that's really all it is. It's an 8-inch speaker. There's no tweeter, there's no horn. It's kind of like your voice is coming through a guitar cabinet. Another reason why I went with this Peavey is because Peavey is such a reputable company. They make products that last. And I really didn't feel like buying speaker after speaker after speaker to do this job, because the job that this speaker has is so simple. It's just amplifying vocals and maybe a guitar or a piano occasionally. I don't know. But the main job of this is just to amplify somebody's voice. And so I wanted it to last long, and Peavey's build quality is pretty reputable. They make products that, I mean, if you try to break it, you'll really have to try very hard to break it. Now, ever since they moved their production to China, which they did when they made this edition of the Solo, the build quality has become meh. So let me tell you guys something. This Solo is not as well built as the first two that Peavey made in the 80s and 90s. Let me just be the first to tell you that. It's not as durable as those speakers. They use this elephant skin or whatever covering, elephant skin covering, which gets scratched up easily sometimes. And then, you know, the buttons up here are a little flimsy. The inputs are pretty decent, but the whole unit just looks a little flimsy, just a little bit. That's not to say that it's not built good. It is built pretty well, but let's just say the models that were made in the USA back in the day were built better than this. But for my use, I'm not going to be throwing it around, slapping it around. You know, I don't think there's going to be any beer that drops on it. Hopefully not. There doesn't need to be. But just keep that in mind. Don't expect this to survive a fire or something. Unlike those USA-made PVs, those were meant to survive an apocalypse. But this is not meant to survive the apocalypse. So don't try to do anything wild and crazy with it. Because it probably won't survive. The battery life, I'm not sure how long the battery life is on this. But if it takes 8D batteries, it has to last a pretty good while. 8D batteries, guys. So that's how you know this product has been around since the 80s, because it's the only PA speaker that still takes 8D batteries. That's how you know it's been around for a decade or two. But anyway, let's turn it on and let's see how it sounds. Check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. And this is with equalization. I kind of had to EQ it like this to get the most definition and the most clarity out of it. Or else my voice will sound like it's coming through a guitar amplifier. Which, if you haven't guessed by now, that's pretty much what this is. A guitar amplifier. But I just had to do some major equalization there. And this is how it sounds. Yeah, it's pretty decent for what it is. Alright, I'll turn it off there, and we'll just start talking about pros and cons. I kind of mentioned the pros already. It's built pretty well, has all the features I need, has this great tape out for recording. It sounds pretty decent. It actually throws pretty far, you guys. Even though it's an 8-inch speaker, I was standing outside, and I just had the volume up at Unity here at about 12 o'clock, and it was throwing pretty far for an 8-inch speaker. It gets about 10 watts, which was more than the Samson Expedition Escape and the Roland Cube combined. So 10 watts with battery power, 15 watts with AC power. If you use it with a power brick or something, you can get a little bit more power out of it. But 10 watts with an 8-inch speaker is not bad. And at Unity, this thing was smoking hot. It was plenty loud for the situation that I was using it in. And I think people could hear me down the street, probably by the casino where I was standing. And it was amazing. And you know, with the little EQ, I did have to I don't like boosting things on speakers, but with this, you're kind of forced to do it because, like I said, this little 8-inch driver is trying to reproduce the whole vocal spectrum, and it just can't. The other thing is, when you're using these microphone inputs, specifically the XLR input, you can't get much gain before feedback out of this thing. You have to literally be standing, I don't know, 3 inches away from this speaker to get maximum gain before feedback. And what do I mean by that? I just mean you have to stand quite a distance from it to not get feedback. But fortunately for me, I had this old Radio Shack mic, and I didn't have to worry about that when I was using a high impedance mic. But if you use a XLR mic, because the XLR signal is so strong and so good, you can't get much gain before feedback out of this thing. And you have to stand quite a distance away from it. So just keep that in mind. Yes, you'll sound a little bit better because of the XLR input, but you won't get much. You won't get much volume out of it. You'll get a lot of feedback. But if you use a 1/4-inch mic, it's perfect. Don't know why, but it is. The other minor complaint, and then I'm done, is when you use the AC power adapter that you have to provide yourself, Peavey doesn't provide it for you. When you use that, there's a really loud buzz, and maybe it was my AC power that I was using. I didn't use the AC power when I was using this for evangelism, but when I was testing it before I bought the batteries, I was using the AC power adapter, and there was a very loud buzz. But with 8D batteries, it's quiet. So just be mindful of that. If you're going to use this with a wall outlet, hopefully you don't get buzz. And if you do, I would just run this on batteries, because it seems to sound better and perform better with batteries. And really, that's my only con. For the price that you pay, which is middle ground, just $100, and sometimes even less depending where you get it, it's a pretty great speaker. I enjoy using it. I can't wait to use it again. And my message was heard pretty clearly on that corner. And so I have this and God to thank for that.